love you. Run!
My game room is something very important to me. It's like its own character on the channel. It's its own being. And I'm glad I get to share a little bit of that with you guys today. You know what? I'm gonna sit right here until that hits 100. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Not till it hits 100. What the hell happened to my game room? Oh, what's this? Ah! Fuck, that hurt. Okay, so how do I get back to my time? Okay, fine, I'll beat it. Damn cobwebs. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. For a while now, I didn't want to do this video because I didn't know if I could bring the game justice. There's a whole generation that hasn't even played Ocarina of Time due to the fact that it's nearly 25 years old. Which is fine, but if you are a fan of Zelda, this is the game that made Zelda what it is today. It set the bar for future Zelda games. I really don't know if I'd be playing video games or even have a channel like this today. So without further ado, let's hop into Zelda: Ocarina of Time for the N64, starting with the story. The story starts off with you being woken up by a fairy, being told that a danger is coming and you are the chosen hero to stop it. And then you are sent to the Deku Tree to be told about this said story. He tells you about the 3 Triforce pieces, which is pretty much what centers around every Zelda game for the most part. So off you go. After defeating the first boss inside the Deku Tree, you are rewarded with the first spiritual stone. Then you're off to get your second one. But before you go, somebody has something to give you. It's Saria from Kokiri Village, who has the Ocarina of Time. Just kidding, it's a regular ocarina. Wait a second. I thought this was Ocarina of Time. After waking up Mario, yes, Mario, don't judge me, we then meet Zelda for the first time, and we see Ganon through a window. It's actually quite romantic. We are now on our way to collect the 2 spiritual stones. After collecting those from their respective dungeons, we are then sent to the Temple of Time, where you then pull out the coolest weapon in any video game. Final Fantasy can kiss my ass.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
It is the Master Sword, and this is where my 8-year-old mind was blown. We're then teleported 7 years into the future, and you are now Adult Link, something that I didn't even comprehend at the time. It was a game mechanic that enhanced the game so much, allowing to have different side quests to go back and forth through time, even implementing them into the dungeons. Also, as a kid, I thought that was the end of the game. I thought, alright, it was time to go fight the boss, fight Ganondorf, and guess what? You had 5 more dungeons to go through, with a few mini dungeons thrown in too. Speaking of dungeons, let's take a minute to go over all the dungeons that are in the game. The first three with the spiritual stones, you had the Deku Tree, the Dongo's Cavern, and inside Jabu Jabu's belly, which was pretty disgusting if you think about it. These first three dungeons were more of a test to see if you could actually play the game. They were small puzzles introducing you to the mechanics and what you were up for. Each level had a mini boss, which after fighting him and defeating them, you would have a set item usually at the end, helping you through the rest of the dungeon. But then when you get to Adult Link, there's mini dungeons and side quests thrown in that you kind of have to do to progress through the game. For example, to get to the water temple, you need to have iron boots. How do you get said iron boots? You go get the iron boots from the ice cavern, which was supposed to be originally a full dungeon, but due to time constraints, it was cut down. The adult dungeons are where this game really shines. You start off with the forest temple, then you can go to the fire or water temple, then the shadow temple, and then at the end, before you fight Ganon, you have the spirit temple. Each temple has their own unique aesthetic and music. For example, the fire temple, you can actually feel yourself almost on fire. You can feel the heat radiating off the TV. And then the water temple. I promised myself I'd say good things about the water temple, so here it is. The water temple is not that bad, it's just a very complex puzzle that young Dylan did not have the fucking patience for.
Water. Oh, God. No. No. No.
Oh, what was I talking about? Oh, that's right, the forest temple. The forest temple has an eerie feel to it. When you walk in, you first discover that there are 4 ghosts you have to go find. The shadow temple was also similar with that feeling. This dungeon required you to have the lens of truth, which to get you had to go down the bottom of a well and fight your way through a bunch of hugging zombies, which is always fun. And this dungeon always gave me trust issues because you need the lens of truth. But the problem is you don't know when you need it, so you have to use it all the time, otherwise you'll fall through the floor. Then last but not least, before Ganon, you had the Spirit Temple. This is where they utilized the mechanic of going back and forth as young and adult Link. They only did it once, but if they did it any more times, it would have been repetitive and taken away from the game. You start off as young Link going through the left side of the temple. Then when you get done with that, and collect the one item you need as adult Link, you go back as adult Link and finish the job. But something better than the dungeons that sticks with me still throughout all these years is the music. The music in this game is phenomenal, which I would hope it is given the fact that there's an instrument in the name of the game. I mean, it's not like Guitar Hero doesn't have any good guitar songs in it. When I was a kid and I played some of these songs through the game, Ocarina, I would then nod my head to and get lost in a trance. Or like any time the Great Fairy would heal you. I used to think that I was getting healed myself, but now it kinda just looks weird when I do it. But these songs are timeless. These songs have been in other Zelda games since and carry on with the franchise as a whole. Last but not least, let's get back into the final fight with Ganon. It's the culmination of everything you fought in the temples and dungeons and had to endure throughout the whole game. As a kid, I never hated somebody so bad in a game or real life as much as I hated Ganon. After collecting all the medallions, you are then sent to Ganon's castle. And in the main room of Ganon's castle, there are different rooms on the outside of this main room, where you have to go into each mini dungeon and defeat the beam that is helping make the shield that blocks the entrance to the tower. Pretty much each room is utilizing all the tools and items you've collected and defeating each room one by one. Once taking down the shield, you can then make your way up top to Ganon's tower. As a kid, I remember climbing these steps, getting higher and higher in the tower, with the music just growing and my anticipation inside growing as well, building up, knowing that this was going to be the final fight, and I was that close to beating the game. Once I reached the boss door with the music blaring out of my CRTV, my heart was beating faster and faster. Take the final set of stairs that lead to his organ playing as loud as it can. And then we play a game of tennis, using the Master Sword to fling the electric ball Ganon throws at me, back and forth, until he falls, and I strike him with the Master Sword, and I do this again and again and again until he is struck down for good. Fuck yeah! Wait, what? I have to erase it. Fine. That's right, we're not done yet. Next, you have to race down the castle, which threw me off as a kid. I thought I was done. And then after that, you think you're done again when you reach the outside of the castle. Wrong again. It is right here where you're shown the true form of Ganon, a beast that towers you by like 5 stories. And during this boss fight, there is no Master Sword. You have to use the light arrows to defeat him. And then, you can have a sigh of relief as the credits roll. Ocarina of Time will always be that feel-good game that I play and go back to at least once a year. There's just something so calming about playing the game, and it's a comfort game, so to speak. It raised the bar for not only Zelda games, but games as a whole today. Some games wouldn't be what they are if it weren't for Zelda Ocarina of Time. There's a reason it is my favorite game. Even today, it still holds up as a phenomenal classic. And if it weren't for this game, I really wouldn't know what I'd be doing right now. I probably wouldn't even have a YouTube channel. So for that one thing alone, thank you, Nintendo, and thank you for making a game that I love and cherish to this day, just like many others. Oh, shit. Not even a goodbye? Damn, that fairy was harsh. Oh, what the hell's that? Interesting. Never seen it before.